Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of my Know Your Formula One track series. This week we are going to Jeddah for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. It is a fairly recent Grand Prix as it held its first Formula One race in 2021. It should be on the calendar until at least 2027, date at which there should be a second racetrack in Saudi Arabia, but I will talk a little bit more about this later in the video. For now, let's focus on the Jeddah Corniche circuit. This circuit is known for its high speed and highly demanding corners. This is the fastest street circuit on the calendar this year, and again this week we are racing at night. Since we only have 3 years of data so far, I'm gonna go back to each year and remind you of the most important moments that unfolded in Jeddah. So back to 2021, the first year of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Hamilton took the win and also got the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.734. However, he had to work for that win. There was a fierce battle between Hamilton and Verstappen that year. Remember, 2021 was the year when Hamilton was trying to win his 8th championship and Max was trying to win his first, so the stakes were high. They almost collided. They got really close together, Max got off track and gained an advantage, so he was asked to give the place back to Hamilton, and he did that, but in a very awkward fashion. It was pretty shocking. He did it on a straight and Hamilton was arriving behind him. Hamilton didn't know that he was gonna give the place back because he did it kind of late already, and he actually went kind of left on the track and started to slow down very quickly, and Hamilton just couldn't anticipate what Verstappen was trying to do, and he ended up hitting the back of Max's car and damaging his front wing at the same time. In 2022, we saw Charles fighting for the win with Verstappen, but I think the most important thing that year was all the complaints from the drivers about how dangerous this circuit is due to the fact that it is a street circuit and it's also one of the fastest. There is very low visibility in some of the corners, especially in qualifying. It makes it very dangerous for the drivers when some of them are on flying laps and others are on cool down laps, and you can't see what's coming behind you. If the engineers on the radio were not on top of their game telling the drivers what was happening around them, we could have seen some very nasty crashes.
A lot of traffic there.
Yeah, the speeds, the closing distance speed on other cars is definitely getting to a bit of a danger zone.
Actually, thankfully, it wasn't due to that, but we did see Mick Schumacher crash in qualifying in Q2 after taking one of the curbs. That was the second thing that the drivers were complaining about. Some of the curbs were actually too tall and the cars would bottom up on them, making it really dangerous, especially at the speed that they would take those curbs. But back to Mick Schumacher, he actually had a really big crash in Q2, ended up in the wall, and he took 33 G. He had to get airlifted and be taken to the hospital, but thankfully he didn't sustain any injuries. It's pretty sad that it had to come to that, for the track to be updated, for the curb to be changed, and some of the corners be adjusted to improve visibility and safety. Last year, the Red Bulls were much more dominating over the entire grid, and so the race was a little bit boring, to be honest. And actually, the most memorable moment of that race was probably the end. We saw Sergio Perez take the win. That was the 5th win of his career and the 4th one that he took on a street circuit. We also saw Max Verstappen go from P15 to P2, and then we saw Alonso take 3rd place, but there was some drama around that 3rd place due to a penalty. Alonso took a penalty at the beginning of the race for being out of position, but then he was handled a second penalty, 10 seconds this time, for not serving the first penalty correctly. But they gave that penalty 20 minutes after the end of the race. That means that he had enough time to be on the podium, to celebrate, to take pictures before they told him that the 3rd place was handed to George Russell.
It feels strange that it took 1 hour, 35 laps to apply the penalty, and I was in the podium with all my sponsors, my team and things like that, and just they decide after, so that's not very good job from them, but it's their problem.
That actually caused so much controversy that a few hours later they decided to reverse that penalty and give the third place back to Alonso. Now onto a few fun facts about this circuit. Jeddah is a 6.4 kilometer circuit and it has 27 corners, which is almost double that of Bahrain. It is the most of any circuit on the calendar this year. However, as you may notice, a fast lap around Jeddah is around 1:30, exactly the same as Bahrain, even though Bahrain is a lot shorter. And that is due to the fact that Jeddah is one of the fastest circuits on the calendar with an average speed of 250 kilometers per hour. This week we are getting a second Saturday race, and it is due to Ramadan that will be starting the day after the race. So as I mentioned very quickly at the beginning of the video, there is a second track that is being built in Saudi Arabia currently. It is supposed to be a summit street circuit and it will be located in the center of Jeddah. The track layout was actually leaked back in 2021. I don't know if it's still accurate, but I will show you in here what it looked like. It's a very long track, a 7-kilometer track. I think it's 34 corners, which is even more than the Jeddah circuit. But what is the most impressive about it is what they're building around it. So they're planning for the entire city to be an entertainment center. They are building a Six Flags close to the track. It should include a gaming and esports district, which will become a global hub for international competitions. If they end up doing what's on their plans, it should definitely be amazing. But that's enough talking. Let's move on to the actual fun part of this video, which is getting into the sim and showing you a few laps around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Hi guys, I'm about to go out on track for a few laps. Let's see what the lap around Jeddah looks like. We begin the lap on the front straight, one of the best passing zones going into the turn 1-2 chicane. A quick flick of the wrist to make the car turn right as fast as it can, hugging the exit wall on the left. For the upcoming turn 4, drivers have to come really close to the wall on entry to get the line right on the exit. Then begins one of the most in-your-face fast sections of the track, the entire complex from turns 5 to 12. Apexes lie inches from walls on several turns here, and it's one of those sections that you really need to flow with. Sector 2 begins with the turn 13 hairpin, once again coming close to the wall on exit. The blind entry on turn 16 is critical to get right as it leads toward the turn 17 to 21 complex, a full throttle blast which includes the second DRS zone. Drivers will hug the wall on the right entering 22, another turn with a blind entry. The third and final DRS zone begins shortly after and is flat out from here until drivers brake around the 100-meter board for the turn 27 hairpin. We are now back on the front straight for the end of the lap. You are going to quickly understand why this is one of the fastest circuit on the calendar and definitely the fastest street circuit on the calendar. I'm wondering what you guys think is going to happen this weekend here. After seeing the first race in Bahrain, Max was dominating definitely even more than last year. But there are other drivers that are really good on street circuits, so we might have some surprises, even though at this point it almost feels like Max already won the 2024 championship, honestly. I was pretty happy to see Ferrari had a pretty good pace in the car in Bahrain. Obviously Sainz got third place and Leclerc got fourth despite having some pretty big brake issues.
So what happened?
So we could see the imbalance between front left and right temperature, and then we could see the pulling and the braking.
We will explain later.
So I'm really hoping... Oof, I hate this section. I'm really hoping that they can be competitive this year, fighting for podiums a little bit more than they were last year. Last year we saw a pretty decent fight between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. There was actually not a big gap. I think it was only half a second at the finish line. So I'm hoping that this year again we're gonna see at least some kind of battle for the first place and not see another 20-second gap. So last week we also saw the Alpine do extremely bad, which is very disappointing. I don't think they want to be nearly close to the end of the field. And even though I am a Ferrari fan, I'm also French, so I do root for the French guys too, and I have to say that was very sad to see. I really hope that they can do something to fix the car within a few weeks, because else it's going to be a very long season for them. Alright, so let me try to talk a little bit about the track and the turns as I am going through it, although it's really hard for me to talk and drive properly at the same time. That first chicane is fairly tricky and pretty slow, and then there's that tricky turn which I hate leading to that very fast part of the track where you're supposed to be pretty flat out. I'm not really comfortable being completely flat out yet. And then this long turn where we can start accelerating fairly quickly. Another tricky right hand turn which I took really bad here. And then onto that very long DRS section right here, all the way down to this tricky corner leading into another DRS zone, and onto the final corner, which is a late apex. Oof, my game totally lagged right here. Alright guys, it's prediction time now. Last week I asked you to let me know in the comments who would finish in the top 3 in Bahrain. I checked back in the comments and I don't think anyone got it right. I was completely wrong. And it's the first race of the year, so I think it's normal. I think we have a little bit more insights now. And for this week for Jeddah, I am going to say Perez for the win, Max second, and I'm gonna put Leclerc in third. So I am curious to hear what you guys think. I think after seeing the Red Bulls in Bahrain, it is inevitable that they're gonna be on the top again this week. But let me know what you think in the comments, and again, if anyone get it right this week, I will do a shout out in the next video. So if you like this video, please give a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.